Wow. So we are on season 3. Welcome to a new season of the Mind Body Medicine for Chronic Pain podcast. Wow. Am I feeling excited about this work, or am I feeling excited about this work? Oh my God. I just got back from Boulder, Colorado, where I was at the ATNS annual conference. ATNS is the Association for the Treatment of Neuroplastic Symptoms. Wow. So great. Like, seriously, so great. There's so many awesome people who do this work and who've healed their chronic pain and their chronic symptoms and who are just these are the best people. Like, seriously, these are the best people. And the conference, the ATNS conference, was fun. Like, whoa. It was fun. Think like, okay, all these amazing talks during the day, then like outdoor happy hours in the evenings, after hours house parties with like boomer doctors dancing to Lady Gaga and like tearing up the fucking dance floor, mind body practitioners splashing around in a hot tub, people like getting real about like deep emotional release and like discussing the use of psychedelics and healing work. A group of us went on a beautiful afternoon walk and we did a whole emotional awareness and expression therapy like session, just like for fun in our free time. And like that's what this was like. I got to be one of the clients, and literally they had me in a place where I was miming holding a machine gun and threatening to blow up the bodies of like, some unnamed people in my past. Like, it was just emotional awareness and expression. The whole conference was so fucking fun. And the vibe was like a really sweet, wholesome co-ed college frat. Very sweet, very wholesome, but still a fucking frat. It was a vibe, y'all. And I'm like, you should come next year. It's open to practitioners and to like patients and the public alike. Next year's conference is in Dallas, Texas. It is October 15th through 17th, 2026. They just announced that at the end. The website for the ATNS is symptomatic.me. You can look there for info. And at the top, there's a tab, click 2026 conference, and you can see more about it. And obviously, it's not for a year, so they'll be publishing more stuff about it as it goes. But wow, I learned a lot from the speakers. I was very inspired. You and me are doing cool and fucking cutting edge work. Okay? And yes, I'm talking to you. If you listen to this podcast, you are part of a fucking cutting edge approach to healthcare that actually works and actually helps people heal from chronic pain and chronic symptoms. And that is revolutionary because nothing aside from placebos really helps people heal from chronic pain and chronic symptoms and chronic conditions. But this nervous system work, the psychological and emotional work that we talk about on this podcast, this stuff really heals people. Wow. Okay. Season 3. We have an amazing interview today with Skylar Whitman, which I know I feel confident that you're going to enjoy. This interview is for anyone who thinks like, sure, mind body work can heal back pain or migraine or IBS, but it surely couldn't work for a condition like rheumatoid arthritis. This one is for you. Okay, if you want to take your healing deeper, like if your pain is not gone and you are so frustrated and you need more, yes, let's work together. I'm happy to say that I just had a session with a client today who's doing very well. Like, pain is seriously receding. Like, she just actually came back from a huge international trip. And in our session today, we were talking about like, this trip compared to the last time she traveled. And she was like, wow, night and day with this decrease in pain, like night and day. People are healing. People are healing. And if you want support, let's you and me do just that for you. I'd be happy to meet you, and I'd be happy to be your therapist and to get to know you and to help you and to help you get to better know yourself through tuning into and listening to your body. You can reach me at my website, which is mindbodymedicineforchronicpain.com or seanhershey.com. Both will take you right there. If you're enjoying the podcast, send it to someone who could use it. Send an episode that you connected with to someone who needs to hear it. They may reject it. Sure, that's possible. Or it may change their life. You never know. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, please rate the podcast, review the podcast. That is always much appreciated. You do that in the app where you listen to the podcast. So, like, if it's Apple Podcast, you rate it there. If it's Spotify, you rate it there. I would appreciate that. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can do so at My Gay Therapist. And announcement. Okay, as of today, season 3, you can easily be part of the conversation on the podcast. In the show notes for today, you can click Ask a Question on the Podcast. And then, yes, indeed, you can ask a question on the podcast. How awesome is that? It's a link that'll take you to, a website. There's a box. You can type in any question. I tested it out. I think you can put a lot of text in there, so you can type your heart away. I would love to hear from you. Anything that you want to say, anything that you want to ask, anything that you would potentially want me to address on the podcast, and I will see all the responses, and then I'll be able to choose a few to address and talk about on the podcast. Which, like, how fun is that? I'm super excited for that. I think it'll be really great to hear from people who are listening. So please click the link in the show notes, and you can ask a question on the podcast if you'd like. It is super easy. Okay. Wow. Mind body work is so fucking awesome. I'm seriously so fucking jazzed after going to this fucking conference. You should fucking go next fucking year. I can't wait to see you. This is the best. This is the best. And without further ado, let's talk to Skylar Whitman about her healing and her recovery. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Mind Body Medicine for Chronic Pain. I am here with our first guest of season 3, Skylar Whitman. Welcome, Skylar.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm so thrilled to have you. So my understanding is that we are here today to talk about recovery from wrist pain, neck pain, rheumatoid arthritis. Is that correct?
Yeah, honestly, the list kind of keeps going.
Yes, as it always does. That's awesome. And I'm glad we're talking specifically about RA. When you said RA, I was like, I hope that's rheumatoid arthritis. So I'm glad that's correct, because there's a lot of, I feel people think there's a lot of gray area there. So, like, let's, awesome. It'll be great to hear your story. Let's get into that. And then of course so much more. So, but why don't we start by you can introduce yourself and, just tell us a little bit about who you are, and then we'll get into your story.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm Skylar. I'm originally from Potomac, Maryland. I've lived in the Tampa, St. Pete area for almost, I guess, about 11 years at this point. I moved down here for college, fell in love with the area. I mean, I came from Maryland and moved to Florida, so it's hard once you get here and you fall in love with being by the water and being in the warmth and no seasonal depression. It's hard to leave. So I love it. I'm actually living in Tampa currently, moving to St. Pete, which is like across a bridge, in like a week and a half. So I'm very excited. For work, currently, I'm the Yelp Tampa Bay community manager. So basically, I run our local events and marketing program for Yelp in the Tampa Bay area. I've been doing that for 3 years and worked in professional sports for about 5 years before that. And I love it.
That's awesome. You're repping Tampa so well. I gotta go.
I am definitely a Tampa Bay ambassador. I could be like a salesperson for the city, probably.
It's working. My grandparents, my entire childhood, my grandparents lived outside of Tampa. And so I've been there many, many times. Every summer we would drive. I grew up in Minnesota. Every summer we would, in June, drive to Long Island, because that's where my dad's parents and the whole family was. And then we would, in August, drive to Tampa. Long drive,
Yeah.
but that was where my mom's parents were. And Tampa's awesome. I mean, I basically just remember like my grandparents' like retirement community with like cool little pools and alligators.
Yeah. Yeah, luckily, I don't find myself in the presence of gators too often, but I was wakeboarding at this, like, cable wakeboard park last weekend, and this girl, like, 2 hours in, she goes, "There I just saw a gator in the back corner," and I was like, "Oh, it's a
Oh.
good thing I'm not going back in the water today."
That's horrifying. And I already okay. I'm excited to get into your story because I already love for people listening, like wakeboarding. We're talking about recovery from TMS and we're talking about wakeboarding. So like yeah, let's get into that. Like why don't you tell us your story? And of course, chronic pain stories tend to be life stories, so it can be a long story. Wherever you want to start, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I think I'll start with, I feel like it's easier for me to start with what got me into this work, and then I'll kind of explain like how I got here, and then we can go backwards after because I think that everything is so much in hindsight that there's like that turning point moment, and then you realize like, oh, maybe I've struggled with a wide variety of neuroplastic like symptoms since I was a child. um,
Relating to that 1,000%.
yeah,
So yes, go ahead.
cool. So in 2020, I woke up one morning with wrist pain, and at first I thought that it was a rheumatoid arthritis flare up. I was diagnosed with RA when I was in 6th grade. So I went to my rheumatologist and she told me this is unrelated, like this isn't, rheumatoid joints. So over the next 4 years, I saw like 7 doctors. I spent thousands of dollars on treatments and I just kept getting different diagnoses. But the pain in my thumb and my wrist started getting worse and spreading a little bit. And then new pains just kept popping up all over. So it was just pain and pain and pain and more pain. Um, and then after an incredibly disappointing appointment at the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville last October, which is almost exactly a year ago, which is crazy. Um, I I was depressed. I was in like the worst RA flare that I'd had in years, in addition to all of these random additional pains that I was experiencing. And honestly, I was feeling pretty hopeless, and I knew that I just couldn't live like that much longer. And I felt like I was almost at that, not giving up, because I don't think at this point I would have been capable of truly giving up and no longer advocating for myself. But I was at a point where I just felt like desperate, so desperate. And that same week after that doctor's appointment, someone recommended The Way Out by Alan Gordon to me. And I was kinda like, I don't know, like a book, I don't know if that's gonna change my life, you know? Um, but once again, I was desperate and I read the book and I felt seen, and that was the beginning of learning really to understand my body, my emotions, my pain, and like I said, in hindsight, like now I realize that I was struggling with so many different symptoms, like long before my wrist and thumb, including my RA flares. But yeah, the way out is really what started it all for me.
That's amazing, and it's so nice that there are so many different avenues into this same work. Like, my way in was through finding out about Nicole Sachs's work and listening to her stuff and, like, learning from her, and, there's so many ways into this, and thank God, right?
Like,
But okay, I mean, yeah, do you wanna go back and, give us like the past stuff. Especially, I think it'd be really helpful. I mean, I didn't realize you were diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. You said in sixth
yeah, I
grade.
was 11. So
Wow. Yeah. So let's talk. Let's
yeah,
talk.
so I was definitely an anxious kid. Um, like I remember I had a severe phobia of bees when I was in elementary school, like, had to do exposure therapy at, like, 8 or 10 or something, like, because I wouldn't go outside, like, that level of anxiety. Or in, my, like, social studies class, I think I don't remember what grade it was in elementary school. My favorite teacher, shout out Mr. Stevens. Um, I felt
Hope he's listening to this
yeah, yeah,
day.
you never know. Um, uh, I like left my textbook at school, and it's elementary school. Who freaking cares, you know? But I freaked out, and not because my parents were making it. They were not like, you know, being super strict about the homework or whatever. It was not that. It was just like this internal, well, I need to have my textbook because I need to read and do the homework and whatever. Um, Such a nice man. Ended up bringing it from the school because he just knew like how much it was impacting me. Um,
Oh, I love that. Let me just say, I really love that. It's so I am similar. Like I remember so many teachers from my childhood and like adults who were in my life when I was a kid. And I love to hear that you do too, and that those stories like still impact you. I was a social worker and therapist in a high school for many
Oof.
years, and I just love that I'm like some of those kids who I remember a lot of them, and some of them remember me the same way that I remember, my teachers, and the same way that you remember Mr.
Yeah.
Stevens.
Yep.
So like that's I love that. But yes, go on.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was an anxious kid. But um, that was kind of it. Like that's all I really remember about, childhood and like young adolescence was just like I know I was an anxious kid, but there wasn't anything that really stands out that maybe like I, great family, grew up in a, privileged area, that kind of thing. So like surface level, you wouldn't just like objectively look inward and be like, oh, like, there's obviously more going on there. Um, but yeah, was just I guess Nicole Sachs said this on a podcast one time where she says some people just like come in have a like just come into this world um like holding like stress in different places or like leaning more anxious and that kind of thing. And I think part of me just kind of came into this world maybe more sensitive in some ways than other people. And some other parts of it are probably more environmental, but I do think like a lot of it is probably just the way I was made. um,
Yeah, yeah, no, same. I mean, I am more sensitive than your average person too. Absolutely.
yeah, so that was like childhood, elementary school, and then at the beginning of middle school, 6th grade, I was playing soccer, playing tennis, and I woke up one morning and couldn't put any pressure on my right foot. And all of a sudden, I just had this random pain in my ankle, and um, I was I was a dramatic kid, and I say that because, like, people told me I was a dramatic kid, and so it was a little bit giving, like, girl who cried wolf when it came to, like, aches and pains and things like that. So when I had said that I couldn't put pressure on my foot, it was like, "Really? Like, do you just not wanna go to your game?" kinda thing. Um and I ended up, just being like, "No, like, I'm in a lot of pain." So they took me to, like, urgent care or the hospital or something, and it took 9 months to get a diagnosis. We went to, like, I don't know, 6 or 7 different doctors all across DC, Maryland, up to New York. It was a really, really hard time because I kept getting different diagnoses, and, RA, which it was juvenile rheumatoid arthritis at the time. It was not as easily, like, diagnosable, I guess, back then. So it was just, like, harder for them to figure out, and, like, they had to rule out so many other things. But I mean, I was going to middle school with, like, a cast on my foot 1 week and then crutches 3 weeks later and then a boot, and all of the kids were like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "I don't really know." And so it just created this image of this dramatic, girl that's complaining about stuff, but we don't really know what's wrong with her, which led to a lot of bullying that I went through. And then finally, when I got my diagnosis, didn't really help because it's considered an old person's disease, um,
Right.
to kids at least.
Right. Right.
Um,
Yes, right.
so yeah, it led me into, a really, really kind of darker time in my adolescence of anxiety and depression and a lot of bullying. Um,
Yeah,
which
wow.
then kind of
Yeah.
it's this cycle, right? So then you remain anxious. And I don't think that I really ever effectively learned how to actually process and feel my emotions through those times. And so then,
Yeah.
like, you know, other symptoms started. Like, I, in high school, had severe migraines that would take me out of school.
Well, here, but okay, okay, yeah. Before we
Yeah.
get into the other symptoms, let's sit with the like the rheumatoid arthritis for a minute. Like, talk to us because that's one that I don't know as well, and I don't know, maybe some people in the audience as well. Um, Talk to us about what exactly rheumatoid arthritis is, how it was diagnosed, what it sort of felt like, and we'll continue with the story, but like you feel free to bring in your perspective of what you know now about mind body stuff. Like just talk to us about like what is rheumatoid arthritis and how did it affect you?
Yeah, so rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disorder, and it is an inflammatory like illness. So basically, my like immune system just kind of was attacking itself, and it manifested as inflammation in my joints. So for me personally, it started with one joint, which was like my right ankle, and then ended up spreading to my entire body. So it went like ankle, right knee, left knee, and then came up into like my hands were really, really bad for a long time. Um, yeah, so that's kind of how it like how my experience with just like the onset of the symptoms was. And it felt like you would wake up and just be so stiff. Like sometimes you wake up and you're kind of like, oh, like you need like a big stretch or something, but that feeling would just last like the entire day and individual joints would just throb. So sometimes there would be visible swelling, but for the most part, it's really not. It's kind of an invisible disease in a lot of ways for a lot of people. It's different from osteoarthritis, which is more commonly caused by like repetitive motion or just like aging, things like that, which, there could be a conversation about maybe that's, you could look at that from like a TMS or PPD lens in some way as well, but that is more like, joint damage really, like over time. Whereas RA is not joint damage, it is joint swelling and joint inflammation that if it was left untreated can lead to joint damage like over time.
Hmm.
So the way that I think about RA now is very different from when I did before. Before it was very, and
Right.
when I say
Yeah.
before, I'm talking like up until, 9 months ago, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
from age 11 to age 29, the start of, age 29. So literally for 18 years of my life.
Wow.
It was like, unfortunately, these are the cards I've been dealt. I'm a victim. This is something that I cannot change about myself. And it sucks and it impacts every part of my life because I just get flares. They come up. I've been on and off medicated my entire life for this. And that's just the way that it is. And there's nothing I can do about it. So,
Oh, I just unfortunately, these are the cards I've been dealt when it comes to your physical symptoms. How many people in the audience, I'm sure, are like, that's really resonating. I mean, wow. Yeah, yeah. But go ahead.
yeah. And it's, I think going through something like that or having an onset of symptoms like that honestly so many people nowadays are experiencing diagnoses of autoimmune disorders, and it feels when you get diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder. I mean, one of my really close friends has Crohn's, or like, but there's so many autoimmune disorders that people I feel like now are maybe now more than ever, or maybe that's not true, but it feels kind of like maybe now more than ever people are getting diagnosed with, and they feel so powerless. We feel like this is a thing that I have no control over. It is just something that happened to my body and there's nothing I can do about it. Mind body work completely changed that mindset for me. And it
Yep.
is
Yep.
not because I can cure RA. I cannot cure RA. It is, I was diagnosed by blood test. Like, there is literal lab work that suggests that this is in me and will always be in me. With that said, symptoms, flares, whatever you want to call it, are, in my opinion, caused by a dysregulated nervous system. So if
Mhm.
you are able, in my experience, to manage, I'll just speak as me. When I am able to manage my symptoms, and as I have throughout this entire year, my pain is less, my swelling is less, and my rheumatologist is suggesting that I could be entering remission. And
That is so cool to
yeah,
hear. Awesome. That is so cool to
and
hear.
it's
Yes.
like, nothing has, I mean, so much has changed and nothing at all has changed, right? Like
Sure.
I, I a year ago, like I said a little bit in the beginning, I was in a really intense RA flare. I was back to having like 12 or 14 different swollen joints. I was in a lot of pain. I was on a biologic already, and my rheumatologist was suggesting that I start a second medication. I started that medication. And then after about a month, I started experiencing hair loss. And I was like, I'm not doing this. Like
Yeah.
I can't get rid of my pain and start causing other issues. Like I just can't be doing that. So I told her that I wanted to go off the medication and try something else. Started seeing a functional medicine doctor and then ended up coming across or someone recommended to me the way out. Which then changed like the trajectory of like what I was even planning, like treatment and healing wise. And
Mhm.
then ended up never needing to go on another medication again.
Mhm.
um
That's
so,
amazing.
yeah,
That's so amazing to hear that. And I hope people who are listening to this are taking in like the specific diagnoses we're talking about are, people think, people who get into this work can sometimes question, like, okay, back pain, sure, that's a mind body issue. Headaches, sure. IBS, sure. I mean, people question all of that stuff too, but there are some findings that people can get into thinking like, well, I question whether that really could be a mind body issue or not. And could mind body work really help me or not? And I think, you're naming, of course, arthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis is one that people really question. I just want people to open their minds. They just open your mind to the idea like, that could be like a slipped disc, which we know from studies that slipped discs do not actually cause back pain. This could be like that. But, like, what do you think? Like, what do you think?
yeah, I mean, I think that, and I kinda can talk about this more later, I'm sure it'll come up again, but, like, I just default to, like, everything is TMS now,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
because I just think that we really do have so much more, like, authority over, um, the way that we live and the way that we respond and the way that our bodies respond as a result of, like, our thoughts and our feelings than I had previously thought. And I think that, yes, I mean, there are some things that structurally we simply cannot change, and structurally, like, if I could imagine that, like, a heart issue, for example. Like, I don't know if something that's like a literal structural issue with a heart could be something that is, you could work through mind body. Or maybe, who knows?
Right.
Maybe
Right,
say,
right.
you
Yeah,
know
right. Because 'cause I'm like, not everything is TMS. Go to the doctor, get yourself
right,
checked
of
out.
course.
For example, have strep throat at least once a year, not TMS. However,
Ah, I would
you
love
know what I
to talk
mean?
about that.
See, right, because it's like it's more complex
Yeah,
than that because the brain and nervous system controls the immune
exactly.
system, and my immune system is kinda shot sometimes, clearly, if I'm getting that
Yes.
sick that often. So it's like, it's always involved, but I guess something important point that I just wanna make is that the treatment for your body is not always gonna be just mind body work. Sometimes you need, like, of course, more than
Yeah,
that.
and
And I
like
wouldn't
I
want
said,
people
I'm
listening to this but go ahead.
I'm
Yeah, go ahead.
still on Humira. Like, I'm still on medication for my RA, and the reason for
Mhm,
that is because, I've suffered from, joint swelling for 18 years, and the main goal of, like, managing RA is to prevent joint damage. I
mm,
hope to be med-free. That's how I choose to live my life in every other area as best as I can.
mm.
Um And I want to get to a place where I feel confident enough working with my rheumatologist
Mhm.
that I want to become like med free when it comes to my RA. But that's a process.
Awesome.
I've been on
Mhm.
medications for so many years when it comes to this that, I'm not just going to go off it cold turkey and like, expect that everything is going to be fine. I want
Mhm.
to regulate my nervous system in a way where I feel so, and of course it's never perfect, like we're always learning and growing, but I want to get
Mhm.
to a place where my rheumatologist is like, you haven't had one swollen joint for, 6 months, a year even. Maybe it is
Mhm.
time to try and, you know, take your Humira every other dose, or then we can try and get off it eventually. So I do think there's something to be said about still working with like the doctors that, know these disorders and illnesses and diseases like in another way. And still, I think that there is a way to like marry the two. There's just so
Yes.
much gray area where you really do have to advocate for yourself and maybe take things that certain doctors say with a grain of salt if they don't come from a place where they understand the mind body lens that
Mhm.
we are like coming to know and love and understand, because
Mhm.
they simply just don't know because they weren't
Yes.
trained in that.
Yes.
And I will say one more thing, like I can I'd also love to talk about the kind of the online program that I did that really kind of I dove into this work with. But, when I started that program, her name is Ellen Ronka, and she runs this Chronic to Cured coaching program. And,
Cool.
like
Well, yeah. So here, let me
yeah,
just butt in. Let's like bridge the like. So you found Alan Gordon's work.
yes,
Let's get into exactly what you're talking about because I'm sure people want to know. Like, okay, you're really recovering. Um, what helped you?
yeah. So after I read that book, like I said, I mean, I cried reading that book. Like I just felt there's so many beautiful testimonials in that book, and just quotes from people, and I just felt like, wow, like I maybe this is the thing that I've been waiting for. And so after that book, I've been in therapy a huge part of my life. So I know that therapy and working with a professional works really well for me. So when I read this book, I looked up pain reprocessing therapy and I just started looking for practitioners that practice in Florida. And I was like, I know that I want to work like individually with someone. So I did, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 different consultations. And I just really resonated with Ellen's work, Ellen Ronka. And I wanted to work one on one with her, but at the time she was not taking new clients, and she was really was more so trying to get people who are experiencing chronic pain to look at her online group coaching program. And at first I was like, I don't want to do an online coaching program. Like this isn't going to help me. I don't want to like buy something and be stuck watching videos and like I wasted, all of this money or whatever. Um
Right. Right.
but, uh, I I love this woman. I the way she's just so, our energies aligned, and after meeting with a few other, professionals, I just thought that, she's the person I wanna work with, and I'm gonna do it, and it was the best decision. It was a life-changing program. I cannot recommend it enough, and I remember.
That is so cool. And let me just say, I know that Ellen, we can link her information in this episode. Um, I know that she was recently on the Mind and Fitness podcast, which you have also been on, which I heard your episode. So if people are interested to know more about her, we'll link her info and certainly check out both Skylar and Ellen on the Mind and Fitness podcast. But yes, go ahead.
Um, yeah, so when I had first chatted with Ellen and I had mentioned all, at the time, once again, I really was only focused on my wrist pain. Like that was the thing that was debilitating in my daily life. In my head, it was separate from RA. So I wasn't even like talking about RA when it comes to like ways that she could help me. And she was the first person who said, maybe, like, no promises because once again, RA is technically considered a structural issue.
Mhm.
She was like, no promises, but maybe we can look at this in a different way. So
Mhm.
through doing that program, I just, like you said, open your minds, right? And I think that is what I had to do is just open my mind
Mhm.
to the possibility of like, maybe I'm not a victim. Like, maybe I have more autonomy and authority than I ever thought. And what does it look like if this is the answer? If regulating my nervous system and learning how to process my emotions and feel my emotions and accept these, pain and symptoms as messages, like, what does that look like in practice? And how can that change my
Mhm.
life? And I mean, I confidently say it has quite literally transformed my life. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I'll stop there for a second.
That's yeah, that is so beautiful to hear. I mean, the way you're saying like, what if I'm not a victim? Like, hell yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And okay, okay. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're at now? And then I wanna get into, I mean, we had talked before this about talking about, like, mindset shifts, like, how your where your mindset was, because you 'cause you're about a year into your
Mhm.
recovery and it's going great. Like, I wanna talk about, like, mindset shifts and, like, what you were thinking at the beginning to what you think now. But first, just give us a picture, like, what is your life like now? How are you feeling now? How are things now?
Yeah, I am the happiest, healthiest version of myself that I've ever been. Um,
Hell yes. Okay, yeah, good.
yeah.
Glad to hear it.
I still get like certain symptoms will still pop up. I just know how to respond to them a lot better now. And like I said, I kind of default that everything that I feel that is like a little bit off or different, I just default that it's neuroplastic right away. And so, I mean, I was thinking about this earlier as I was, kind of getting myself ready for this podcast. And I work out a lot. I work out 5, 6 days a week. And when I say workout, that's a mix of strength and conditioning, Pilates, yoga, indoor cycle, running. I mean, I am a very active person, yoga, all the things. And
Awesome.
I am just as active as I was a year ago, 2 years ago. But a year ago, 2 years ago, I was struggling with injuries every other week. And now
Mhm,
I am the exact same level of active, and I am not experiencing injuries in the same way that I was. So, like, proof
mhm,
is in the pudding, you know?
mhm,
So yeah, I mean, I still struggle with anxiety. That's something that I'm like
mhm.
tackling even more so now through IFS, which internal family systems therapy, which is something that
Oh,
I started working on through Ellen's program, and then decided that I just really resonated with that work. And so I'm, in IFS. I'm starting EMDR soon. So like I'm kind of you know, the program and everything that I've done this year has gotten me to a place where I have developed a connection to myself, I think, for the first time.
mhm.
And I'm genuinely listening to my body and what it needs. And
Developed a connection to myself for the first time. Totally. That is so powerful. And I really relate to that. And I just wanna sit on that for a minute, like, thinking back to, like, what you were saying about, like, yourself in 6th grade, where you are, like, your body is telling you something, and clearly, I mean, I hear what you're saying is like now that you look back, you're saying like I didn't really have a connection to myself, and your body's telling you something, and nobody knows how to read the message. You have the boot on your foot one day, the crutches the next day, and then not only does nobody know how to read the message from your body, including you and including your family. It's like you were to be bullied for the way that your body is communicating with you is just, like, so tragic, but I think so, sadly, like, relatable and normal. I mean, the number of people who, like, we feel like failures because our bodies are communicating with us and people have to leave work, people feel they're, debilitated, and it's just like, "Oh my god," like,
and
wow,
it
just, like, lots of empathy for that.
and it
Go
and it
ahead.
it perpetuates the issue because it
Yeah.
creates this fear, which, obviously the fear and shame are 2 huge parts of this work. And
Yes.
once you experience, whether it's that external pressure or just your own internal pressure of, I don't want to be experiencing this because, you know, people are looking at me differently, or I'm embarrassed, or whatever, the myriad of things that kind of come up when,
Hmm.
for me, the bullying, then you become fearful of experiencing that symptom again, right? And so then
Right.
then you're in the fear cycle. And then your body starts, maybe not in every circumstance, but in mine, trying to communicate with me in other ways, whether it was migraines or itching or stomach problems or, all these anxiety, all these other ways that my body is trying to communicate with me. And I didn't want to listen because I was so afraid, and had so much shame. Why me? Why is this happening to me? Why is my body acting like this? So I think it just creates the whole cycle all over again.
1,000%, 1,000%. And the migraines, I mean, just think about like all the symptoms. And yeah, I mean, how many people can relate to that? Certainly I can, of having so many symptoms. Um, so okay, so talk to us about like the mindset shifts that you've experienced, like what your mindset was like when you started this healing path, what your mindset is like now, and what you wish you I mean, maybe there's no like, it takes time, maybe there's no way to know this from the beginning, but, like, what could someone maybe have told you at or near the beginning that would have been helpful?
Yeah.
Like, let's get into that.
Yeah. I think I'll start with that second part.
Great.
If I could go back and like talk to myself at the start of even just the mind body journey, like not even the pain journey, but really like that turning point. I and this kind of goes with what the mindset, started as and what it became, because
Mhm.
the journey is never ending. And that may sound like kind of daunting at first, but it really is so worth it, and it can and will like change your life in all areas for the better. So in the beginning, I was very much, I think about it as like urgency versus longevity. Like, you know, I was like, I'm gonna do this online program and I'm gonna be fixed in 3 months. And then I'm never gonna have to think about this again because my wristband's gonna be gone and I'm gonna be able to do a push up again. Like, la di da, like hallelujah.
I'm so glad you're saying this because I'm positive people come to this podcast with that mindset. People definitely come to therapy consultations with me with that mindset. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm glad you're naming what you're naming. Go ahead.
And it's so real because, and
Of
I think,
course, I felt that. I totally felt when I started this. I totally felt that.
and
Go ahead.
think about why though. Like, there's in surgery or any other specific treatment, right? Like, there's typically, you think of it as like beginning, middle, and end. There's like before I got fixed, healed, there's during and after. And this work just is not the same. So now I view it as like I'm always doing the work because this is a lifestyle. I have integrated these, practices into my life. I have created sustainable habits into my life. Whether it is, you know, how I know to ground myself, whether it is looking at my symptoms a certain way, whether it is my expressive journaling, whether it is, parts work and, IFS or whatever. These are things that are fully integrated in my life now. And like, it's not a phase, it's a lifestyle. Uh, um,
That's right.
um,
Love it.
and that definitely is probably like one of the biggest mindset shifts. I probably have like two more. Um,
Please. Yeah, please.
My second one is that, kind of going back, I kind of said this before, but I was very had a victim mindset before, where like
Mhm.
these things happened to me, and boo-hoo, woe is me.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
um I now, through this is started with Ellen really helped to kind of reshape the way that I view my pain. And she always says like, your pain is a message. Wow, I can't speak. Your pain is a message. And I started to really feel as though these are superpowers. And that sounds like a little, I don't know, like cute. But what I mean by that is that how lucky am I to have this internal checks and balances system that basically my body says, "Hey-o, like we need to simmer down and like, let's talk about this." Like that uh big move that you're doing next week, or that thing at work, or that anxiety, or that, friendship or whatever. Like let's maybe like think that one through and like, really, look inward and figure out what let's name those feelings. Let's talk about it. Let's see who's coming up and wants to chat. And so now I look at it really as a superpower, rather than something that I like have to go through or deal with. And yeah, look, I don't want to have pain. When things come up, I'm not like, yay, pain.
Right.
um,
Right.
but I am a lot better at uh, feeling like this is a special thing that I get to experience, because I also think that many people never reach the level of emotional intelligence that
Mhm.
I've almost been forced,
I totally
you
agree
know?
with that, that I've been
Yeah.
forced to have. I totally get
So
that, yeah.
good for us.
Right, right. No, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to hear that you're, like, to know, like, A, the symptoms are messengers, and B, to, like, welcome the message with open arms. That is huge because, I mean, of course, it's a I mean, I think of it as like a beautiful it's like a gift, like a beautiful gift wrapped in, like, the worst wrapping paper that often takes, like, forever to unwrap, and you hate it and you wanna throw it away, but then you see what's inside and you're like, "Oh, I actually really needed this gift. It was exactly what I
So
needed."
true. So true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, will you so talk to us about, I mean, it's great to hear that Ellen's program was so revolutionary. I mean, do you wanna just, like, give people maybe a sense of, like, what you felt you really learned and internalized from that, like, really helped you so so people can make connections for themselves?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I think one thing, the way that Ellen sets the program up is really intentional. And um, it starts with a lot of pain science and brain science, and helping you to really understand why this is actually happening in our bodies. Which I think, I'm a very curious person and like need to understand the why behind everything. And I do think that it's just really helpful to kind of like, I don't know if you can really dive into this work if you don't have like a really deep understanding of why and how it's actually happening, like scientifically in our bodies.
Yeah, yes, yes. I mean, on this podcast, we talk about that as the psychological work, and I agree. That is the place to start. You have to get your mindset around like what's really going on in your body, and knowing that like the pain does not necessarily mean that there is a problem with your
Yeah,
body at the site of the pain.
yeah,
But yeah, yeah, yes.
yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
And then honestly, like there's the videos of the program, and then there's the coaching calls. And so we had 2 coaching calls every single week, in our, like, little small group, and then there's, like, a Facebook group forum that you have access to where you can constantly be communicating, and Ellen is, like, super active in all of that. Um, so I think one part of this that was really, really special, was the community part of it. Um, it was you just never felt alone, and you always knew that, like, these other people, and there was only, like, at least when I was on there, maybe, like, 7 of us on a call or something, like, it's a smaller group, but it was, everyone was different stages in their life, different stages of their journey, but we all were going through, some similar things, and so it was just nice to kind of have a little bit of a community and like feel like you weren't alone in going through this.
Mhm.
And then all of the videos, I mean, it's so much really valuable content. And so I won't go through, I couldn't even list off to you everything that was in this program, of course, but she helped me learn how to journal in an expressive way. She taught me how to, so like she teaches you how to actually name and understand the feelings that you're experiencing and then how to actually process them. I think a lot of us, like, we hear things and we're like, oh, that makes sense. But then it's really challenging to actually put into practice. And that's why, in my experience, it's just so nice to work with a professional like yourself, like Ellen, like all these, amazing people that are helping people learn this work. Because I think that there's only so much we can do on our own.
Hmm.
So yeah, and she's so smart, and just the way that she would explain things was really, really, really valuable and digestible. But she dives into a little bit of IFS, a lot about different emotions, a lot about just simply learning how to regulate your nervous system, a lot of different like coping mechanisms, that kind of thing. And this is definitely like a downplay of the massive like behemoth that the program is.
Mm. Mm.
But it was a beautiful surprise doing the program, and it set me up to feel like once I got out of the program, I was in a really great spot to then like move forward on my own. Because I
Yeah.
had the tools and the knowledge and have really been able to just um, continue with all of the habits and the tools that like I built during that time this entire year.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And it's really standing out to me what you're saying about like you can only get so far on your own. I think that is completely true. And it's a weird dichotomy because at the same time, it's like nobody's going to do this for you. Nobody can do it for you. Nobody can save you from your own symptoms. Like you've really got to do this yourself. And at the same time, it's still true that there's only so far you can get on your own. I mean, I've shared on the podcast, I saw a TMS therapist. Her name was Liz Wallenstein. And I mean, truly, there's only so far you can get on your own. Like, she opened my eyes to like when when the issue is like you're not fully in touch with yourself, you're repressing a lot of emotions. There's literally only so far you can get on your own
Literally,
because
like there's a wall. Like there's literally protector parts that are like preventing you from getting there. It's like you need
right.
someone else to be like, "Hey."
Right, to help you see. Yeah, yeah, and so somebody who understands the typical patterns of a mind-body sufferer, somebody who understands the typical issues and the typical barriers, the typical walls. Like, it is very, very helpful to have somebody who can see the defenses and acknowledge them as defenses and help you break them
Yeah.
down. So huge. So, yeah, I'm really glad you're sharing that because for people who are listening, I mean, I think a lot of people get stuck thinking like, something's wrong. I don't know what it is. And then they start thinking like maybe this doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And I just want to invite people into the world of like, wait. Maybe you just need help.
Yeah.
Maybe you just need someone to do this with you.
Or
But what do you think about that?
because so I'm really glad you brought that up because so when I first started the program, I was pain-free in 2 months. Like, I literally had a period of time where it happened so quick. I was like, "Wow, this worked so well." Like, she's
Yeah.
cured.
She is
She's
fully cured.
healed.
Never needs this
Never. Yeah,
again.
like I said, 3
she,
months.
she can do a
Yeah,
push-up, so it's
exactly.
over.
So everything is okay in the world. Um, and then, I realized when I really got into the weeds of this work that you kinda learn that the goal is not actually to be pain-free. That is like a welcome byproduct of the goal, right? So,
Yeah.
it's like it's more about developing that connection to yourself, learning how to process your emotions, and then in time, the pain starts to subside because you start fearing the pain less. So what happened with me is that I was pain-free, so cured, oh my god, I'm, like, so happy, like, life is great, and then the pain came back, and it came back, in, multiple different places, and I had a short moment of, like, "Oh my god, it didn't work, like, this isn't the answer, I was wrong, everyone was wrong, whatever." And then I sat with that, and luckily I was lucky for me, I was still in the coaching program at the time. So I like go to into one of these community calls and I'm like, "Hey, what the heck is going on here?" And
Right.
it is so common, I know now, for people going through mind body practices to, for the symptoms to go away and then come back. And for me, what that meant is I kind of lost the plot. I was focusing so much on, well, I'm pain free now, and that's what I wanted, and that was the end goal, and that's what matters, that I kind of forgot about what the real work was. And now that I am actively so just like engulfed in like what the real work is and my intentions are so much different, I'm not focusing on the pain as much as before and I don't fear it. So it's just subsided. And because I'm not afraid of it, I know that if or when it comes back or pops up in another way, I'm just adequately prepared to handle it and respond to it. So it's also like now I'm just um, like a leveled up version of myself when it comes to this kind of thing.
I love the idea of the goal is not to be pain-free. That is I mean, speaking of, like, going into this process with one mentality, which is obviously my goal is to be pain-free, and then to as you as you work with this stuff, you realize, like, my goal really can't be to be pain-free. And a byproduct of doing the work, obviously, is having many, many moments where your pain is gone, or at least where your pain is way down and you're feeling good. But one thing that Nicole Sachs said this on one of her podcasts one time. Which like this is something that I mean, I'm glad we're talking about this because like even where I'm at in my personal process, I'm like, I need to hear this. The saying you'll never be in pain again or saying you never want to be in pain again is like saying you'll never be in a bad mood again.
Yep.
Or saying you'll never you'll never want to be in a bad mood again. And of course you never want to be in a bad mood again, but that's not
He
reality.
always says,
That's not how it goes.
there's no cure for the human condition, right?
Yeah.
And I love
Yeah.
that because,
Yeah.
yeah, so true.
Right, right. That is a fact. And yet, I mean, there's so much. It's such a paradigm shift to think about your body this way. I just want to say to if people are listening and there's this conversation is filling them with doubt, and they're like, oh no, this means I'm never going to get better. This means this doesn't even work. I want to be very clear. That is not what we're talking about. This does work. It just doesn't work the way that you think it will. And it doesn't work the way that like other, it doesn't work the way that like the surgeries promise to and then fail you, or the way that the pills promise to and then fail you. But like, I mean, I would be curious for you to speak to that a little bit, Sky. Like if somebody's hearing what you're saying and they're feeling like, oh, so it doesn't even work. Sky still has pain sometimes. Like, damn, this is not worth it. How would you respond to that?
I would respond to that by saying that I went wakeboarding last weekend. Like,
Yes, good answer.
no,
There we
like
go.
I used to every time I would wanna do something fun with friends that was a little bit out of the ordinary or try a new hobby or all these different things, I would be so worried about the way that my body was going to respond to it, whether it was my RA or I mean, I would try, like, one new exercise and, like, wake up with these random aches and pains that were, not typical soreness. So I was, you know, for a long time, I felt like I wasn't able actually to like live my life to the fullest. I genuinely believe now I can do anything that I want to. I mean, with our own literal normal human like physical limitations and like I'm really bad at things when I first start them and like my grip strength is awful because I had so many years of hand pain and modifications and things like that. So like I still need to strengthen a lot of things that maybe in the past I was just like, oh, can't do that. But it's a process. But I am truly like living my life to the absolute fullest now. And that is only because of mind body work.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, well, as we're winding down, any final words of like advice or hope or inspiration that you want to share with our listeners?
I think my main thing is I hope that people don't stop advocating for themselves. I think that it is so easy to walk into a doctor's appointment and get discouraged and, you know, want to, even if you feel it in your bones that they are, not correct or you're just tired, right? Like this can be such an exhausting process. I just hope that people continue to advocate for themselves and open their mind up to maybe some non-traditional methods, which mind body work definitely is. Um, and if you're looking for, you know, a good starting point, I did make a free PDF that I would love to share with your listeners. They can find it at healingwithskylar.com. Completely free to download. It is a PDF. It has, I call it a starter kit. It has links to books, podcasts, the program that I did, other resources around pain reprocessing therapy, internal family systems therapy. And it is literally just like a one-stop shop for some, early in your journey resources and some videos that can help you kind of understand, is my pain neuroplastic, things like that. So, and once again, like, yeah, this journey is forever and it is so beautiful.
Yes, yes, it is so beautiful. Send me the link to that, and I'll definitely add that to the show notes. And I know that you like I know because I follow you on Instagram. You create some mind body content, so send me your Instagram, and we will link that as well. Do you do any like coaching or talking to people about, or is that not like I mean I don't know. Is that like an offering you provide or
Not
not?
currently, more so just wanting to do more speaking engagements and things like that.
All right. Yeah. Cool. Well, so for anybody listening who has any speaking engagements, this sky is it. And you're a great speaker. I mean, I'm thinking about like always when I do the interviews, I'm like, okay, like we'll have to edit this and stuff. This is going to require basically zero editing. So for any of you who might want to book Sky for a speaking engagement, know that this interview has not been doctored up to make her sound good. She legitimately sounds great.
Thank you, thank you.
You're so welcome. Well, okay, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. Truly, it's so inspiring to hear your story, and especially, thinking about like the classic mind body symptoms like the wrist pain, the joint pain, the migraines, and also getting into things that people think of course gray area like rheumatoid arthritis, and to think that like you've been suffering for so many years and now you have your life back and you're the happiest, healthiest version of yourself. That's fucking awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming
Thank
on.
you for having me.
Absolutely. And for everybody listening, this has been Mind Body Medicine for Chronic Pain, and I will talk to you next week.